Can I tell you about my latest obsession? I cannot get enough of this pumpkin picking candle from Wisco Home Goods. The second I light it, I'm transported to all the things I love about fall. Crisp apple in the air, warm spices, a hint of hayride magic. It's like I'm walking through my favorite orchard, sipping cider, or rustling through a pumpkin patch. It's fall in a jar. And the best part, it's clean burning soy made right here in Madison. Seriously, if autumn had a scent, this is it. Get yours today. You can grab one in-store on Madison's East Side or online at wiscohomegoods.com. You're going to the Wisconsin Book Festival's fall celebration, right? It's our state's premier literary event of the year, and it's less than 2 weeks away. It's October 23rd through the 26th, so get planning and get reading, and we'll see you there. It's a public opportunity with more than 55 events where you can connect with authors and fellow book lovers at Madison Central Library and other downtown venues. It's accessible to everyone, and yes, there are even sometimes free book giveaways with signed copies available from renowned authors. Don't forget, the festival also hosts author programming all year round. So what are you waiting for? Go find the complete schedule at wisconsinbookfestival.org. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, it's the Friday News Roundup, and there's a lot going on in these streets this week. Joining me today to round up the news is our newsletter editor, Rob Thomas. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Bianca. How you doing?
I'm feeling a little jittery. It's probably a mix of this mocha latte that I'm drinking and the massive event that's coming to Madison tomorrow, but we're going to talk about it. And here with our producer, Jade Isiri Ramos. Hey, Jade.
Hi, Bianca. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, happy to have you, and let's get into it. I'm kicking us off this week with the story around the federal government. The federal government's been heavy in the national news, but also in local news. We're on day 17 of the federal government shutdown, and both sides are blaming each other for this reality. There's no clear end in sight. As mentioned, there's a pretty massive planned rally coming up, the No Kings March for Madison, and also cities across the state are planning one for tomorrow, October 18th, the No Kings March. So we're going to get deeper into that in a moment. But first, on the issue of the government shutdown, if you're traveling, you might see some unorthodox political messaging at airports in the U.S. The Trump administration has made a controversial choice to have TSA checkpoints across the country run a video to send a message to travelers that Democrats are to blame for this shutdown. So Homeland Security Director Kristi Noem is in the video saying, quote, "Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay." So it's finger pointing, and it's being broadcast across the nation using public goods. The TSA is under the purview of Homeland Security, but this is a pretty controversial move, and a lot of airports across the country, including our neighbors, have outwardly refused to air these messages, including our neighbors' airports in Chicago and Minneapolis, St. Paul, because some are saying it's against their policies around sharing political messaging. Portland Airport came out and said, hey, this is something that might be illegal, that it seems clearly against the 1939 Hatch Act, which restricts certain political activities by federal employees. Some are saying they just don't have the capacity to play it. So it's causing a lot of confusion, and I know folks in Madison are talking about it. I read the Reddit thread. We're all wondering what's happening. Of course, we have the Dane County Regional Airport right here. And a spokesperson from our airport has said that no video from DHS has been playing on airport managed equipment. So TSA is a tenant, and that's how TSA works across the U.S. So we have TSA at the Dane County Airport, but according to a Wisconsin State Journal article, I saw that the communications director said that airport staff haven't seen a video playing at security checkpoints. But yeah, I don't know what y'all make of this situation. It's not clear. Dane County isn't like outright saying we refuse, but they're saying we're not playing it. So what do y'all think about this story? It's novel to me.
Well, it's strange because like you say, I've heard other airports take more of a stand and say we're not playing this because it might be illegal. I just saw the airport in La Crosse said they haven't even received the video, and that's why they're not playing it. In Dane County Airport, I don't even know where they would show it. Like, there's no big screen TVs in TSA, which is probably a good thing. You want TSA agents to be focused on security and not have TVs playing everywhere. So it's a strange thing. I sort of just wonder now if this is sort of a performative thing and they weren't actually planning to roll this out to airports and were more focused on getting media coverage, but I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I know that it's confirmed that it's played at like a Detroit airport.
Yeah, we were talking about this as a group as we were deciding what stories to cover this week, and just the optics behind this just feels so propaganda-esque, right? You have no option but to be in line, to get your bag checked, and you're hearing sort of this news from the state being the government, and it feels very strange times that we're living in.
Very strange times. I heard it described as Orwellian. I know when we talked about it, I described it as Ozian, Frank Baumian. I shouldn't make jokes, but it can be pretty alarming, I think, to have something that standardly talks about messages around safety having political messaging. So it's not happening in Dane County Airport, from what's being reported. I know folks understand kind of the nuance here that it's like TSA is separate and Dane County is like all the equipment they own. They're like, we're not running it. So that's the word on that. But recently, the Pentagon basically put out an edict for all of its journalists and their press corps that they needed to sign a contract that would say they wouldn't report on anything that wasn't already pre-approved and shared with them to report on. And across the board, major news outlets have come out saying, like, no, we're not going to do this. And across the political spectrum, I guess, like CNN, Fox News, NPR, like major news outlets are just like, this is actually not how reporting works. And this feels like it crosses a line. And this Wednesday, dozens of journalists walked out of the Pentagon because they were given a couple days to sign this. And I said that I'd circle back to the No Kings event that's happening tomorrow, or planned for tomorrow. According to Isthmus, y'all, more than 80 cities across Wisconsin have plans to rally and gather and march. And on the Mobilize Us website page for the No Kings Madison event, it says the intent of the gathering is, quote, to remind President Trump and his enablers America has no kings. So, I spoke with a leader involved with organizing the event, and they told me they're expecting around 16 to 25,000 people here in Madison. So that's pretty serious stuff. How does that make y'all feel? Or what are you thinking about with this sort of surge coming to our city tomorrow?
This is a nationwide protest, and they're expecting millions. They had a No Kings protest in June, and I think Madison had about 11,000, or maybe even up to 15, but they're expecting more this time around. And you mentioned the Trump administration. They've really been kind of pushing back and maybe inadvertently hyping up this protest by talking about who's showing up. But the one in June was mostly peaceful nationwide and completely peaceful here in Madison. And I think really galvanizing to the anti-Trump movement to go out in the streets and see there's so many other people of all walks of life who feel the same way you do.
It's supposed to be 71, which is good protesting weather. And I don't know, it's exciting to see people exercise their free speech.
Absolutely.
It's exciting. It's scary times. So I hope that everyone is safe. We brought back our episode from last year with Ryan Cox, legal director of the ACLU of Wisconsin, on legal tips for how folks can stay safe while exercising their First Amendment rights. That link is in our show notes. And, I'll just add too, I was reading an Isthmus piece this week by Liam Barron, who's been on the show. And it talked about that there are going to be significant rallies in cities across the state. And it started talking about that, back in June. McFarland had 500 people come out. So, it won't even just be at our state capitol. Like, it really seems like it's going to be an activation that's pretty widespread. And obviously we can't share too much because it has not happened yet, but that's what we're expecting. Wanted to give a word on that because it's a major event. And I want to shout out a friend of the podcast here, Ali Muldrow. She's going to be the MC for the event. So a lot to see, and it's going to be, in part around the state capitol. We're going to keep this Friday News Roundup moving. Staying on the state capitol, our next conversation is around changes to the top of State Street. So before we get to that story, let's take a quick break. Remember that weird sound your furnace made last winter? The one you hoped wouldn't get worse? Hope's not a great heating strategy. Not in Wisconsin. By December, the phones ring nonstop, everyone's furnace decides to quit at the same time, emergency calls, big repair bills, long wait lists, all when your family needs heat most. Right now, Cardinal Heating is offering $1,000 off a new furnace and AC system, but only until October 31st. And there's up to $2,600 in federal rebates and tax credits you could qualify for, but those expire at the end of 2025. This isn't just a deal, it's peace of mind. When it's 5 degrees outside, you'll be warm and relaxed because you took care of it now. Visit cardinalservice.com and schedule your free estimate. The last good deal of the year is right now, before the cold, before the panic, before prices rise. It was a dark and stormy night, and you were caught on Hallows Eve without a costume. The horror! Are you ready for Halloween? You could buy something new, but why would you when you could get something spectacular and unique at a low cost at your local St. Vinny's? St. Vincent de Paul Madison has it all. Halloween accessories, wigs, shoes, and more for your DIY costume. They've got Halloween costumes for the whole family, including kids and pets. And speaking from personal experience, I found incredible sequenced dresses, bespoke blazers, and dramatic fashion accents for costumes there. St. Vinny's is my go-to for finding an outfit item that's kind of tricky that I don't have for my costume. Plus, if you need any Halloween yard decorations, perhaps you have to haunt up a haunted house, they got you. By the way, while you're there, why not get a jumpstart on your holiday shopping? St. Vinny's gift cards make for the perfect present for any occasion. Go secure your costume. Head on over to Madison St. Vinny's today. So, we talked about the marches that are expected around the state capitol tomorrow. It's got us thinking about our streets, and there's some changes coming to the top of State Street. Jade, you've got the story.
Yeah, so the city's planning division has released draft designs for the expanded plaza on the top of State Street. Specifically, we're talking about Mifflin and Carroll Street. Those are the streets that sort of wing State Street. The way that I was envisioning it as I was looking through the story is like, if I'm standing with my back to the Capitol, Mifflin is on my left and Carroll is on my right. The focus here is to make that space an inviting, well-utilized, and flexible people-centered space. And this is tricky because Mifflin and Carroll are sort of the de facto backdoor streets for State Street, right? You have all these storefronts that are on State Street, and that's led to sort of an underutilization of these two streets on Mifflin and Carroll, those blocks right there. They're also not very well lit, which, Bianca, you covered this a few months back when the city was just in the beginning stages of talking about what developing these plazas would look like, and we're looking for resident input. At that point in the conversation, we were just talking specifically about the space on Mifflin that was formerly known as Philosopher's Grove. I'm going to get into the draft designs that are laid out by the city, but before I do that, Bianca, I just want to turn back to you and ask if you remember some of the concerns that people had around that sort of backdoor-esque part of State Street and the frustration around the removal of Philosopher's Grove, which happened a decade or so ago.
Basically, it's a really high traffic area. It's a high energy area where people want to be and for different reasons. And so there's a clash. Like in terms of it being dimly lit, the thing about downtown and State Street is like any nightlife, people come out and will stay out until 2 a.m. And that means people who are working at the businesses are probably out until 3 a.m. And anyone who's lived here for a week knows that drinking is a major component of nightlife. Not everyone is doing that, but there's just a lot of ruckus at the top of State Street. And so when you have like lots of different groups convening, like tourists, UW students, people going out for some sort of like party night, whatever. And then you also have a lot of folks who are experiencing homelessness who have also chosen that area to be at, in part because of access to resources. There are a lot of homelessness services that come to State Street, knowing that that is an area folks congregate. It's an area with like bathrooms. Like there's a lot of reasons why people came to that top of State Street area. And there's just been businesses who have said their employees have felt in danger at night going home. As someone who used to work at Notchville, like on the other side of the Capitol and walking home, yeah, I think that in general, it's not the safest thing to do, but you kind of might have to. You have to leave the space, and if there are people who are drinking or people who also need their needs met, like theft, whatever, like there's a lot of things that are congregating in that area, and it's been an ongoing issue. And that's why, a decade ago, Philosopher's Grove was an art installation that folks could sit at and talk. And, the idea was to have a space that folks can talk about the issues of the day. And then Mayor Paul Soglin and his administration basically removed that, thinking like, oh, this is why people are congregating here because there are seats. But I don't know how true that is, considering we're still looking to update this area.
Bianca, all these points are really set the backdrop of sort of rethinking about how these two sort of wings of State Street can better serve everyone in Madison. And before we sort of get into it, I will say that these are people-centered, and I think that maybe with that people-centeredness is a little bit more focused on bringing people to State Street, maybe less so serving people who are already there. So we'll get into it. Spoiler alert, I'm going to say it at the end, but this isn't happening until 2027. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about what is happening and sort of, keep an eye on who is being centered in this people-centered planning. The new draft designs were released in a public meeting last week, and largely these three designs are very similar to one another, and they're kind of hard to explain because this is an audio medium, and so I'll make sure to link the presentation in our show notes. If you're interested in seeing what I'm saying, check those show notes out. But the first concept is called the radiating concept, which puts a lot of activity towards the Capitol and utilizes that conjoining spot where Mifflin, State, and Carroll all sort of meet. And the idea behind this is that it'll will allow flexibility for larger events that are sort of taking up that whole 3-street area. The next concept is the State Street Mall concept, which is very similar to Library Mall, if folks are familiar with that sort of area. In that plan, the energy is sort of more centered throughout the street. Then there's radiating too, which is sort of a combination of the two, very similar to the first one. And the energy is a little more central to individually Mifflin and Carroll Street. And this means that vendors and people who are sitting and enjoying the streets would be tucked away from that intersection and have a little more individuality than the original radiating plan. What do you guys think of these three plans?
Oh, I'm just nervous. I shouldn't be bringing my nervous energy, but it just is. There's so many interests at play, but I love the idea of adding more green space. That's always a beautiful thing and will help as our planet continues to warm.
Now, as somebody who sometimes parks in that 100 block of Carroll, because it's very easy to get in and out when you're picking up Ian's Pizza or something like that, I'll miss those, 6 parking spots or whatever, but for the greater good, I can give them up. These are really cool designs. I can't really pick a favorite, but the concept I like. I like the idea of anything that brings people downtown and beautifies it is a good thing, right?
Yeah, as you said, Rob, this will take away those few parking spots that are currently on Carroll and that are on Mifflin. And all three will have lots of seating, space for vendors, more lights, more greenery. And then there will have to be access to cars of some kind or vehicles of some kind. So you're thinking like trash pickup, people moving in, businesses getting deliveries, those sort of things will still have to be able to mold and meld, but general traffic and general parking will not be happening on those streets. Again, I'm going to link this in the show notes, so check it out. I will also say that the city is still taking feedback. So if you have any notes or if you want to have your opinion heard, you can voice that in the link that I will share in the show notes. There's still quite a bit of big unknowns here. They don't necessarily know how much it's going to cost to do this sort of renovation. They need partners to be on board to help this space take life. So we're talking, vendors, we're talking about food trucks, we're talking about people who are going to plan events in these spaces. Because if not, it's not going to take life, right? We can build all this, and if the people don't come, the people don't come.
They're going to come.
They're gonna yeah, come. Hopefully they'll come. Hopefully they'll come, right?
Yeah. Looking at these and hearing about the plans is really exciting, and it's making me excited to talk to someone about them, as this comes together, because I know Madison has such smart folks that I know are probably also looking at what has worked in other cities and also other cities across the world. I was driving up East Washington recently, and I was appreciating our mayor, Satya Rhodes Conway, and just the knowing how much we're trying to be leaders in different ways. And all cities are really facing the similar issues around how to manage public spaces in a way that's inclusive and people forward for everyone, not just for tourists, not just for and in the long run. So we have really ambitious climate goals, and I'm curious how these are all intertwined, because it's the center of our city. And so public transportation, all of that is in consideration here. Hey, y'all, maybe stop driving downtown. I saw a business leader this morning, at the bus stop. And I'm look at you riding the bus. And can we shift our culture? Are we going to be Denmark? Can that be, Amsterdam, and people who truly have a bike, cyclists, commuters? What's possible, and what's the appetite for really trying to get away from cars? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that this is sort of thinking of how infrastructure can be people-centered and not car-centered, when so much of our city and the cities around us have been built up to center cars. And I think you're right. This is a clear vision of how streets aren't just for cars. I mentioned this earlier, but this is not going to come to fruition until at least 2027. And that's because the city is on a timeline with the Wisconsin History Center, which is slated to open that year.
I can't wait until 2027 when I can drive up the new John Nolan Drive to downtown, check out the new Wisconsin History Center, hang out it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Making my way downtown.
Yeah, so 2027, look for that. All these plans start with the top of Mifflin, which used to be where Philosopher's Grove was. That's the first section. Then the bottom of Mifflin, then the top of Carroll, and then the bottom of Carroll. Another wrench in this sort of plan is that there's an unknown with the Wisconsin Veterans Museum, specifically the building that houses that museum. It's old, and it's potentially needing to be torn down. So at some point, that'll be part of the conversation. There's also on Carroll that sort of stage statue thing with columns. And so regardless of whatever happens, a plan's going to need to be made for whether or not that stays. That's relocated for the potential demolition of the Wisconsin Veterans Museum building. That's a big up in the air thing. Again, we have until 2027, so we will be keeping our ear on the street and bringing you updates as they come along.
Yes, ear to the ground. And I used to work in that building with Wisconsin Veterans Museum, and I can attest, it's pretty old. It is pretty old. So it's really exciting. God, there's always changes going on in our city, and we're going to keep this Friday News Roundup rolling, turning to a change in my old neighborhood. Before we get into that news, let's take a quick break. Explore the wonders of science at the 15th Annual Wisconsin Science Festival, October 16th through the 26th. With over 200 events happening in more than 55 counties throughout Wisconsin, this statewide celebration brings science, technology, and art to all ages. It's a jam-packed 10 days of learning, ranging from interactive experiments to thought-provoking panels to the fusion of art and science. It kicks off on October 16th with the fan favorite Science Science on the Square. On October 17th, it's time for laughs, where you can join for Sci-Prov, where science meets improv comedy. And if you like great shows, on October 21st, head to the Majestic Theater for the Y-Sci Variety Show for a fast-paced, fun-filled night of nerdy flash talks mixed with artful performance. And on Saturday, October 25th, be sure to check out the UW-Madison Campus Open House. Plus, throughout the Wisconsin Science Fest, you'll be able to join for their signature events like Crossroads of Ideas, Soundwaves, and Wisconsin Book Festival author events. There's truly something for everyone in every corner of Wisconsin. For more event details, visit wiscifest.org. Want to do your holiday shopping in the best way? AKA while having fun, not being rushed, and getting a healthy dose of autumnal charm? Step into fall at the Bruce Company's Autumn Artisan Fair on Saturday, October 25th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Located at Bruce Company Garden Center at 2830 Parmenter Street in Middleton. You'll be able to spend a cozy afternoon in their greenhouse and atrium to find one-of-a-kind gifts, decor, treats, and fall-themed goods. The Bruce Company's Autumn Artisan Fair will have booths featuring 50 local makers and bakers offering unique handcrafted goods. We're talking treasures like fused art glass, handcrafted woodwork, jewelry, and candles, signed books from local authors, and delicious fare like homemade fudge, decorated cookies, and spices. It's dreamy, I know. There's truly something for everyone. So find out more and check out the whole vendor list at brucecompany.com. And be sure to follow Bruce Company on social media for any fair updates and vendor announcements. Making my way downtown.
That's going to be stuck in my head.
I'm so sorry.
All day long.
You know what? Rob, you have a story in our food restaurant scene. What's happening? What's changed?
Well, there's always a story in our food scene. The Madison restaurant scene giveth, and the Madison restaurant scene taketh away. Every week there's something new opening and something new closing, and this week was no exception. First, the good news. If you've ever stood in line at the farmer's market on the Capitol Square to get some of that hot and spicy cheese bread from Stella's Bakery, you're in luck because Stella's just opened its new cafe on Regent Street this week. It's a soft opening, and they'll have their kind of grand opening on November 1st once they sort of kind of get a couple of weeks under their feet. Stella's already had a retail space on Syene Road next to its production space, but it's closed that retail space because under farmers market rules, you can only have one retail store. But they're really leveling up with this new cafe, which in addition to selling all their baked goods, including that spicy cheese bread, they're also going to have beer and wine, and they're going to have coffee, although they're going to keep coffee pretty basic because they're located right next door to our beloved Indie Coffee, and I think they want to be good neighbors. So, not try and compete directly. That's probably why they're not selling waffles either. Indie Coffee is known for those waffles.
Watch out! If there is Stella's cheesy bread waffles, shut it down.
Well, they could do a collaboration, do cheesy bread waffles and sell them at both places, right?
Yes.
We are bringing people together here. We are making collabs. Yeah.
Cheese, man.
That's right. This Stella's Bakery, it seems really cool. They're going to have a big outdoor patio space where people can hang out, and on Badger game days, they'll have events there kind of tied into the Regent Street spirit. So it sounds really cool, and I can't wait to get over there. And like I said, so they're open now in kind of a soft launch time, and then the big grand opening will be Saturday, November 1st.
An opportunity to get more Stellas, I feel like, is a win for everyone in Madison.
Yes. Don't have to wait till Saturday or Wednesday. Yeah.
And Cora has this Hella Stella breakfast sandwich served on a hot and spicy cheese bread. And man, oh man, it's decadent.
Decadent. I also like the fact that the Dane County Farmers Market has so much power. They want to stay there. And so they're like, we will shut down so we can stay within the rules. Like that's blowing my mind a little bit.
Right. So now we turn to the bad news. I think this is especially bad news for Bianca that El Rancho Breakfast and Tacos has suddenly closed on Johnson Street after, I think, just only 16 months in operation and opened summer 24. So had you guys tried El Rancho?
Yes. So I used to literally live on that block, and now I can say that out loud. And I'd probably eaten there, 3 or 4 times. And every time it was really fantastic. And we actually tried to get the owner on the podcast. And I did a pre-interview chat with them. And they were really lovely. And it was one of those things where they're a family restaurant and super busy. And, they took the call probably during service. And so it didn't quite work out. But yeah, I'm sad to hear this because the food was really good. And they had TVs with sports ball on them. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I agree. I've been there, I think, twice, and vibes were good. Food was good. Food was fast, which is also like, that's huge. I feel like when it's 2:00 and I haven't eaten lunch yet and I'm just like, I need something in my stomach. But yeah, sad to see them go.
I'd never been there. I've been to the El Rancho on Park Street, which I think is the original one, and really liked it. Really good Mexican food. But what was cool about this one was, as the name suggests, it was an all-day place for Mexican-American food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast tacos, breakfast burritos. The owner, Jose Torres, told Samara Kalk at the Wisconsin State Journal, it was a combination of business issues and health problems that prompted him to close the restaurant. The good news is that original El Rancho on Park Street is still open, which Torres says is doing great business. And last week, they began serving the breakfast tacos and burritos that the Johnson Street location was known for. So you can still get them there. There's a second El Rancho on Cottage Grove Road, but Torres no longer owns that. He sold that off a few years ago. I especially get bummed out when a good restaurant doesn't really have time to kind of find its legs. Like 60 months is a very short time. And it sounded like both of you say, like it was a good place making great food and it was really filling a niche in the neighborhood as like a place you could walk to or just stop by really easily.
Oh, yeah. And it's across from, Robin Room, which I think is one of Madison's favorite cocktail bars.
Yeah.
And it was obviously convenient for me being on that block. But yeah, I'm thinking about them, and I hope sending love and care for their family and, any health concerns. We have to take care of ourselves first.
It's also a tricky spot. Before that, it was East Johnson Family Restaurant, and they really had a relatively short run. I know that they had taken over that building and it took a long time to get it up to being a full restaurant kitchen. And then I think they were only open for a handful of years before closing down, and then El Rancho took over.
Totally.
And the good news is another new restaurant is already set to open in that same spot called Mi Barrio, which translates to My Neighborhood, is supposed to open next week. The restaurant will be run by Manuel Hernandez, who's cooked at El Sabor de Puebla for 8 years. And we'll have enchiladas, tortas, quesadillas, burritos, and tacos. So hopefully they'll have better luck with that space. But Torres told Samara that he is planning another new restaurant concept, maybe to open sometime next spring, but didn't really give any details. So he's definitely still in the game. And he said that his health problems are improving too.
Oh, good. That's excellent to hear. Staying in the game, staying in this ever-changing food scene, and really excited Mi Barrio. Like, this is such a caring area. So really hoping for the best for the next space. And while we're talking about this lovely neighborhood, it has me thinking about our neighborhood, our neighbors program. We do have neighbor shout outs. So let's get into those. I'll give us the first one, which comes in from Jeff W. Shout out to a really nice neighborhood Mexican restaurant on Cottage Grove Road, El Rancho. Really fresh ingredients and food made right in front of the customers. Double tap. Really like that one.
Yeah.
Jade, do you eat there?
I haven't been there yet, but this is the second shout out that specific El Rancho has gotten. And so, I mean, that's a really good sign. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
I have the next shout out, which is from Deanne M., who says the Dane County Shamrock Club is a social, cultural, and charitable nonprofit group that does charitable work for the community. They have scholarships and donations, etc. Everyone is welcome. No need to be Irish. All are safe here. Sounds fun. I love a little shout out to a group.
Love a shout out to a group. And we've got a new neighbor, Rob, right?
Yeah, Jess H. Welcome aboard. Yeah, it's been really great to see the new neighbors come in and show their support for us.
Yes, thank you, Jess H. Thanks, y'all, for using your neighbor perk, which is writing in and giving us a shout out. You can do that literally as much as you want. So It's really exciting, and we love reading them because we've got so many great things in Madison. That's the news this week. It feels like the note is to stay safe in these streets, stay safe in the air if you're traveling, and yeah, care for your neighborhoods. Alrighty, y'all. Thanks for rounding up the news with me this week. Jade Siri Ramos, you are the best.
Thanks, Bianca. You too.
And Rob Thomas, see you later, King.
Thank you, Bianca.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. We're produced by Jade Siri Ramos with help this week from Selena Say Reynolds. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music this week by Toby Ann, Drew Shepard, DM, and Xavier and Ophelia from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. Plus, Wendy Marchini and Hip Color, courtesy of EpidemicSound.com. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor. You can always get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who likes Mexican food? Alrighty, see you back here Monday morning with more news from around the city. Until then, take good care and thanks for listening.